Okay, so guys, we only have. Sorry, Lee, answer. State what you wanted to state first.
No, I was just going to say I was at the European Society for Cardiology meeting in Stockholm a couple of months ago, and yeah, there's a lot of excitement. There's I think there was three sort of general consensus. One was there's as Amit has said, we're studying a lot of different cell types in a lot of different indications, and the data is very mixed because the clinical trial design, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we certainly need some larger powered studies. There's some very promising data presented in chronic heart disease as opposed to the AMI models. And I think there were some questions, as Amit I think alluded to, about the appropriateness of ejection fraction as the ultimate and primary endpoint here, when there are a lot of other clinical endpoints which are certainly clinically material. And one has to question whether those should take a more predominant position. But I think everybody is excited. But certainly there's a lot of unanswered questions. What cell do you use? How do you deliver it? As you alluded to, Tom, do you deliver it in the muscle, the heart muscle, the thigh muscle? Do you deliver it into the vein, into the heart? Do you do surgery and try and apply it as a patch? A lot of different moving parts here, pardon the pun, that we need to answer in order to figure out what the data means as we move forward. But I think what's also exciting, and this is maybe where I'd like to take another conversation in the future, is that this whole field of regenerative medicine, as you and I chatted a little bit about yesterday, Tom, is growing up in an era where we have access to personal genomics data and diagnostics and bioinformatics capacity that's so different than predecessor biotechnology or pharmaceutical companies enjoyed, that we should be able to, and I think we're behooved to try and translate those scientific and clinical capacities to develop regenerative medicines in a way that are much more predictive. And obviously that's a very much a pie in the sky sort of concept, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be, from the very front end, identifying the patient subpopulations in which these therapies are most effective and design the therapies around those diagnostics or in those patient subpopulations, as opposed to trying to follow a blockbuster model that is at best effective in 30% of the population, like we've seen in the past.
Excellent. Okay, guys, we're wrapping up now. I know Amit has some lives to save doing surgery here. So let me just refresh the audience. Dr. Amit Patel is the first person to use the stem cells, adult stem cells for cardiac indications. He is from University of Utah, a cardiothoracic surgeon, and literally a stem cell pioneer. So Amit, we're really honored to have had you with us. Lee Buckler is also a stem cell pioneer. He is the commercialization end of the piece. Basically puts together companies, starts companies, gets regulatory approvals, and gets financing for companies. And myself, I am the CEO of Medistem. We work on the menstrual blood-derived stem cell, the endometrial regenerative cell, a universal donor stem cell. If anybody wants to contact us, then then you can just go to my website, I guess, Medistem, Medistem, Inc.com, or you can just Google my name. We got here some questions from New York guy. He said, I came in late. When can we see you guys again? Well, we're probably going to do another show in about a week. I believe there's a website for this called thelatestwith.com. There should be some schedules up there when we have great guests. What else do we have here? What do you think of the difference between allogenic and autologous stem cells? Okay, well, this one, it's a very broad question. Obviously, I would have to say the endometrial regenerative cell is the best stem cell there is, right? That's allogenic. Let's see, any other questions here?
Yeah, I think those are some of the exciting questions that we should address in future episodes or conversations, if you will, Tom. Some of these very fundamental questions like that are very broad bucket questions, but I think they're worth exploring. To engage the public, and both from an education and a discourse sort of way. We're still struggling with those. There's no best, of course. It depends on the indication and any of a host of things. But it's an interesting discussion to have, and one that we're having in the industry itself.
And Tom, what's great about those questions is, see, the one thing that we've always done with any of our biological programs is we never focus on the cell. We focus on the patient, and that's what's so great. So there are patients who will benefit from autologous, maybe the best, and sometimes they're just so sick, or the indication or timing is the best thing, where allogeneic is going to be the best. So, but we really focus on the patients and the disease they have, as opposed to trying to decide which cell or cell type is the best. Is if we tailor it towards the patient, then we get the best outcomes.
It's just like the question about which model is best. Is it going to be a device model? Is it going to be a hospital kind of surgical service model? Is it going to be a pharmaceutical model where you can inventory these products, et cetera, et cetera? And I think the answer is certainly from those in the industry is that the answer is yes. I mean, there's going to be appropriate and commercially successful instances of all of the above.
Oh, somebody asked, what do you think of how growth hormone works? Does it affect stem cells? Growth hormone. What do you guys think?
You two are the docs. I'll defer to you.
The simple answer is yes, growth hormones do affect stem cells, but it's also how old you are really plays a significant impact of the specifics of growth hormone having a positive effect. As you get older, just growth hormone alone will have very little contribution to just your stem cells alone, and actually can have a negative impact sometimes to your calcium metabolism and other organs, just because they no longer can rev. It's basically putting a Corvette engine in a Fiero, if you remember. Is the inside you can rev a lot, but if the body's still kind of getting older and becoming inefficient, you can actually cause heart attacks and other organs to fail by causing too much increased revving of the body.
There was a study, I believe, in Circulation, where they were giving growth hormone to older people, comparing older people and younger people, and the older people, there was a reversal of the circulating endothelial progenitor cells. I think it was growth hormone or testosterone. I think growth hormone, but yeah, that's all I know. Does testosterone do that too? Do you know?
Just testosterone actually in older patients early on in low doses, you could actually see a positive effect in terms of energy, function, and that. But long term, it's the same problem. It has a lot of end organ damage problems. So a lot of these things are good in smaller, moderate amounts, if you especially can document the deficiency, which can happen as you age. But if you don't have that and you give these compounds, you actually can see a lot of side effects in terms of kidney and heart damage long term.
I see. Oh, we've got two more quick questions here. Will we see more uses of stem cells here in the U.S. for all sorts of treatments? I believe the answer to that is yes.
Absolutely.
Did Obama help with stem cells?
What was the question?
Did Obama help with stem cells? Well,
sure. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's Bush's decree against the use of federal funding for non-existent embryonic stem cell lines was limited in its real effect in many ways, but it had an overarching depression factor on the industry as a whole. I mean, you can see this whenever you see positive news about the liberation of embryonic stem cell policy. You see, for instance, the public, the value of the public stocks, even amongst adult stem cell companies, rising. this is a phenomena that's been observed time and time again. So the fact of the matter is, even though the two are very disparate scientifically, certainly from the public perception, and even the venture very sophisticated venture capital tends to be concerned when embryonic stem cell policy gets tighter. Even if the particular technology being pursued is an adult stem cell technology, which has nothing to do with the policies in question. So the quick answer is yes.
He did help the stem cells. Yeah. No, I.
But see, so Tom, you can see that all of our work started during the Bush years, and we had incredible support federally and everything. And as a lot of us who did in Texas, who started a lot of the cardiovascular work, that we had great support from the FDA and pretty much everyone in the federal government to get a lot of the early trials up and running. So for us, it really has not been that much of a change in one government to the other. If anything, I think now adult cells are being held to a higher standard. So instead of decreasing the bar for embryonic, they've raised the bar for adult, and that's been a significant shift from the earlier years, that there are more factors and issues that have to be addressed for adult cells that did not have to be in the earlier years of these therapies. So the restrictions have gone down on embryonic, but I'd say the bar has been raised for adult cells in terms of getting them into therapeutic trials in the U.S.
Wow, I never knew that.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that would be the case. I certainly would have think that it would have diluted your funding in the sense that now there's federal funding going to embryonic stem cell trials as well, and there's only a limited pot. But that's an interesting observation, Amit. We'll have to talk about that more offline.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting one. One of the questions here is, what do you think of cryocell? I think that one's directed to me. I think cryocell is a very good company that's doing some really exciting work.